I knew something was wrong the second I picked up my backpack. It felt heavier than usual, uneven, as if someone had slipped something inside when I wasn't looking. My gut told me it wasn't an accident, and when I opened it, I realized this wasn't going to be just another ordinary morning. I had woken up early, ready to start my day, when I decided to grab the bag from the corner of the room. Normally, I keep everything organized, folders stacked neatly, pens clipped, notebooks tucked where they belong. But today, something felt off. The weight wasn't the same. It shifted strangely as I lifted it, and that tiny detail was enough to grab my full attention. I unzipped the main compartment slowly, as if bracing myself. At first glance, everything looked familiar, perfectly in order, but as I reached deeper, my hand brushed against something that didn't belong. The texture was unfamiliar, and the way it had been tucked underneath my things told me it wasn't placed there by mistake. My pulse quickened, my thoughts spinning. I froze, fingers still holding onto the hidden object. For a brief second, I considered the possibility that maybe I had left it there absent-mindedly. But deep down, I already knew that wasn't the case. Someone had put it there deliberately, and the only person who had been near my backpack recently was my son. That realization hit harder than I expected. A rush of emotion swept through me. Confusion, suspicion, and a faint sting of betrayal. Why would he hide something in my bag? And why did he think I wouldn't notice? The questions piled up, and with them, a storm I knew I couldn't ignore. The moment my fingers closed around the hidden object, I felt a chill run down my spine. It wasn't light like a piece of paper or soft like clothing. It had a weight, a presence, as if it carried a secret with it. I pulled it out slowly, half afraid of what I was about to see. In my hand was something I had never expected to find in my own backpack. Its shape was odd, the texture unfamiliar, and immediately I knew this wasn't mine. It wasn't anything I'd ever carried before. My stomach tightened. Why would my son think this belonged in my bag? Was he trying to hide it from me or from someone else? I turned it over, studying every detail, hoping the answer would reveal itself. The more I looked at it, the stranger it felt. It wasn't the kind of thing a child would carelessly toss into a parent's belongings. No, this had been hidden carefully, deliberately, almost as if he wanted me to find it, or absolutely didn't. My mind spun with possibilities. Was it some kind of prank, a rebellious experiment, or something far more serious? I thought about the times I had told him I noticed everything, that he couldn't outsmart me. Maybe this was his way of testing me, pushing boundaries to see if I'd catch on. But the longer I stared at the object, the less it felt like a game. This wasn't about laughter or jokes. This was about trust and the possibility that my son had just broken it. I set the item back down carefully, my heart racing, as a new thought clawed at me. What if this was only the beginning? Before I could decide what to do next, my mind drifted back to moments that defined my relationship with my son. You see, this was the first time he tried to test me, to see how far he could push without getting caught. And maybe that's what unsettled me the most. When he was younger, it was harmless. I'd catch him sneaking cookies into his room when he thought I wasn't looking, or hiding unfinished homework beneath the couch cushions. I used to laugh, shake my head, and remind him that parents always know more than their kids think. It was innocent then, just small act of childhood rebellion. But as he grew older, the games changed. He became more secretive, more determined to prove he could outsmart me. There were times when I'd find strange receipts in his pockets, or notice him whispering into his phone late at night when he thought I was asleep. Each time, I let it slide, convincing myself it was just part of being a teenager, part of him carving out independence. Yet, deep down, I always wondered if letting those small things go was a mistake. Had I taught him that hiding things from me was acceptable, that trust could bend as long as he didn't get caught? Those questions haunted me as I sat there staring at the item he had planted in my bag. This wasn't a cookie or a piece of homework anymore. This was something different, something heavier. And for the first time, I felt the sting of betrayal in a way I hadn't before. It wasn't just about him sneaking something into my backpack. It was about the silent message behind it. He didn't think I'd notice, and that realization cut deeper than anything else. The moment I understood what my son had done, a fire rose inside me. My first instinct was to storm into his room, hold the item in front of his face, and demand an explanation. But something stopped me. Confronting him immediately would only give him a chance to spin a story, to twist the truth into something convenient. And I didn't want excuses. I wanted the truth. So instead, I sat still and forced myself to breathe. If he thought I hadn't noticed, maybe I could use that to my advantage. I could wait, watch, and see how far he would go with his secret. My mind sharpened with quiet resolve. I wouldn't yell, I wouldn't accuse. I'd let his own actions betray him. That's when the idea came to me. Simple, silent, and sharp. If he could slip something into my backpack, without me knowing, then I could return the favor. I would move the strange item from my bag into his car. No words, no confrontation, just a mirror held up to his actions. It was risky, but it felt right. This time, I wasn't going to play the clueless parent. This time, he would learn that nothing escapes me. Placing the item into his car felt like setting a trap, and once it was done, all I could do was wait. The silence afterward was almost unbearable. Every time he walked past me, every time he picked up his phone or glanced outside, I searched for signs. Would he realize it was missing? Would he panic when he discovered where it had ended up? I watched closely, but carefully enough not to raise suspicion. At first, nothing seemed unusual. He laughed at his phone, grabbed a drink, and carried on with his day. But I noticed the small things, the way his smile didn't quite reach his eyes, the way his hands fidgeted when he thought no one was looking. Hours stretched like days. Each minute felt heavier, as though the secret itself was sitting between us at the table. And all the while, he had no idea I already knew. He believed he was winning, that his secret was still safe. Late that evening, when he finally headed to his car, my heart pounded. This was the moment. I stayed inside but watched through the window, every muscle tense. He opened the door, leaned in, and froze. Even from a distance, I saw it. That flicker of shock, that flash of fear in his eyes. For a brief second, he looked around, as if the walls themselves were closing in on him. That was the proof I needed. He had hidden something from me, but now the weight of it was squarely back on his shoulders. And this time, he couldn't pretend I didn't notice. When he froze at the sight of the item in his car, I knew the moment of truth had arrived. His shoulders stiffened, his hand hovered over it. And for the first time that day, he looked genuinely afraid. He picked up quickly, darting his eyes around as though someone might be watching. Little did he know, I stepped outside, calm but deliberate. He flinched when he saw me, clutching the object like it might disappear if he just held on tight enough. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The silence stretched, heavy with all the unasked questions. Finally, I broke it. Do you want to explain why that was in my backpack? My voice wasn't angry, it was steady, measured. That alone seemed to unsettle him more than shouting ever could. He stammered, words tumbling out like loose stones. I didn't mean, I was going to tell you. His excuses collapsed under the weight of my stare. I had heard them all before, and we both knew they wouldn't hold this time. Tears welled in his eyes, not a sadness, but a fear, the kind that comes when the truth can no longer stay buried. He admitted, finally, why he had done it. He thought hiding in my bag would keep it safe, out of reach from people he didn't trust. But in doing so, he betrayed my trust instead. The confession cut deep, but it also opened a door. This wasn't just about the item anymore. It was about honesty, about the fragile line between independence and secrecy. As he spoke, I realized he wasn't trying to hurt me. He was scared, uncertain, and desperate. And for the first time in this long day, I saw not a schemer, but a son who needed guidance more than punishment. In that moment, standing beside his car with the truth finally out, I had a choice to make. I could unleash my anger, punish him harshly, and let fear drive the lesson home. Or I could take a different path, one that would teach him something deeper than punishment ever could. I took a deep breath and steadied my voice. Do you understand why this hurts me? I asked. His eyes dropped to the ground, his grip loosening on the object. Because you didn't trust me, he whispered. That simple acknowledgement was enough to soften the storm inside me. Yes, I said, "But more than that, you tried to outsmart me. You thought I wouldn't notice. Trust isn't just about telling the truth. It's about believing that I'll always notice when something's wrong. That's my job as your parent, and it's your job to let me in." His tears fell then, silent but heavy. I didn't lecture him further. Instead, I placed a hand on his shoulder. "I don't need perfection from you. I just need honesty." He nodded slowly, and for the first time in days, I felt the wall between us begin to crack. The strange item was no longer the issue. The real lesson was clear. Secrecy divides, but honesty, no matter how painful, keeps us close. And that was the moment I knew he understood. Looking back, I realized that day wasn't about what he hid in my backpack. It was about what we almost lost, trust between a parent and child. My son thought I wouldn't notice, but I did. And by showing him that nothing escapes love's watchful eye, I reminded us both, honesty always wins.